They all laughed at the poor dishwasher, but she stunned them with an unbelievable triumph. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The moment when laughter echoed in a crowded kitchen, cutting through the air like a knife. They snickered at me, the girl no one noticed, hiding behind suds and chipped plates. My hands trembled, slipping on a soapy dish. Heart pounding, I felt invisible, shrinking under their jeers. Light flickered overhead as I scrubbed, the steam blurring my vision. But that day, it felt different. A vibe heavier than the dirty dishes surrounded me. My coworkers often dismissed me as just the dishwasher, a ghost. Not worth their attention. I was the one who cleaned up their mess, yet here I was, part of a secret. Just the night before, ID found a strange locket buried beneath the scouring pads. Its surface gleamed mysteriously, and in it, a picture of a woman. Her eyes looked right through me, watching them laugh. I held on to that locket tightly. Its cool metal felt like a lifeline in a sea of scorn. When I turned it over, I noticed intricate engravings swirling into a tiny map. Something deep inside me urged to investigate. Not just for me, but to prove them wrong, to show that the dishwasher could more than just clean. She could uncover catastrophe. That I took a deep breath as I stepped out of the kitchen. Each footfall echoed louder than the last. Whispers tangled behind me. What's she doing? Who does she think she is? I pushed through the door, my heart racing. Those murals of laughter faded to ghosts as I stepped onto the cold pavement. Around the corner, a dark alley beckoned. It felt alive, humming with secrets. The night air was thick, scented with mystery and a whisper of danger. I was terrified but exhilarated. One push to uncover what lay ahead, beneath the surface of my life, beneath the laughter. Suddenly, the ground rattled. A jolt ran through my bones. A shadow moved in the alley, something massive. My breath hitched, skin prickling with fear. Was someone else after the locket? I faced the unknown. My heartbeat matched the rhythm of footsteps growing louder. In that moment, choices loomed between me and freedom. I could run back to the laughter or step into the dark, unveiling secrets that could change everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The shadows deepened around me, warping the familiar landscape of the alley into something unrecognizable. The footsteps grew louder, a haunting rhythm that mirrored the chaos inside my head. Adrenaline surged as I weighed my options, heart racing between the thrill of discovery and the fear of what might be lurking in the dark. Hello. I called, my voice sounding smaller than I intended, swallowed by the darkness. A harsh, rattling laugh echoed in response, sending prickles down my spine. The heaviness in my chest was a weight I couldn't shake, yet deep within it flickered the spark of defiance, an urge to confront whatever was left in the shadows. Out of the blackness, a figure stepped forward, its features obscured by the dim light filtering down from above. You shouldn't be here. The voice was rough, tinged with a warning I could feel in my bones. I tightened my grip on the locket. I found something, I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them, driven by that unexpected honesty I often kept hidden. The figure paused, peering at me with an intensity that pushed me to step back. Did you? They leaned closer, and despite the fear curling in my stomach, I found myself curious, drawn to the possibility that this person, too, had stories etched in their skin, the weight of their own secrets. Yes, I breathed, my voice steadier. The locket. I found it in the kitchen. It has a map. I hesitated momentarily before revealing the small glimmer of faith I clung to. I think it means something. His eyes narrowed, flickering between skepticism and intrigue. You think a locket can change the world? He scoffed, though his tone softened, revealing a thread of something deeper, something that suggested he understood, even if he didn't believe. It's not just a trinket, I insisted. It's a piece of someone's life. And it could lead to something more. The way the darkness clung to him, I could sense the weight of loss. Perhaps he had once sought his own hidden treasures, answers that never came. For a moment, we stood on the precipice of understanding. But then the haunting echo of laughter from the kitchen broke the spell, reminding me of the jeering voices I'd left behind. I could feel their judgment wrap around me like a shroud, and it sent me reeling. Maybe I'm a fool, I whispered, feeling the familiar sting of doubt creep in. But just as I began to retreat, a flicker of kindness came from the figure before me. You're braver than a lot of folks who wear their bravado like armor, he said quietly, a nod to the courage that bubbled beneath my trembling surface. It'll help you. Surprised, I unlocked my gaze from the ground, seeking the depth of sincerity in his eyes. Why would you want to help me? The question slipped out, unexpected. It was not a privilege I was accustomed to, because I know what it's like to feel invisible, he said, and suddenly it struck me. Fracture in his voice mirrored my own pain. We were both washed in the bittersweet glow of longing, wading through the wreckage of our lives, angling for pieces that made us whole. As we stood there, two souls intertwined by shared solitude, a wicked snap of light filled the alley, the distant glow of neon signs glaring through the cracks of the night sky. It felt like a warning, a reminder of the world outside this moment we had formed. I glanced at him, uncertainty threading my thoughts. What do we do with the locket? Let's find out what it leads to, he proposed with a flick of rebellion in his voice, igniting something deep within me. The pulse of hope surged again, a vivid thread pulling at my heart. But the tension of yesterday's laughter hung heavy. The journey ahead would not be smooth. As we turned to delve deeper into the alley, I caught a glimpse of something that sent chills down my spine. A shadow watching, lurking behind a dumpster, its presence dark and sinister. My pulse quickened as the reality hit me hard. We weren't alone. Someone knew about the locket, and they might be just as desperate to uncover its secrets. Look, I murmured, pointing toward the ominous figure. But as we both turned, it vanished, swallowed by the shadows, leaving an echo of unresolved tension pulsating between us. An unspoken agreement laced the air, to find the truth behind the locket and face whatever awaited us, even if it meant threading through webs of danger and darkness that could pull us under. Together, we stepped forward, not knowing how far we would have to plummet before we could rise, but more determined than ever to confront the laughter and the shadows it cast upon our lives. The alley twisted like a serpent, encasing us in a darkness that felt alive, a throbbing pulse resonating with the apprehension that sat heavy in my chest. The distant memories of laughter gnawed at me, a ragged reminder of all the times I had been mocked or dismissed. That pain propelled me forward, but now, beside me, stood a stranger comrade, perhaps who seemed to share the weight of my hidden scars. We need to keep moving, he urged, a mix of urgency and unspoken solidarity coloring his tone. I nodded, gripping the locket tightly, my fingers brushing over the cold metal as if it could provide warmth in the chill of uncertainty. Each step seemed to echo louder than the last, bouncing off the alley walls, a cacophony of possible outcomes yet unseen. Do you ever wonder if some things are better left uncovered? I asked, my breath hitching slightly as vulnerability slipped into my voice. What if it leads to more pain? The fear of the unknown gnawed at my insides, a hollow cavity threatening to swallow hope whole. He paused, casting a sidelong glance at me, eyes reflecting both understanding and something more solemn. Pain is part of the journey. But so is joy. Sometimes we can't find the light until we brush against the dark. His response hung in the air, a fragile thread that tethered our doubts together, binding us in shared uncertainty. Suddenly, the alley opened up into a small courtyard, littered with remnants of forgotten dreams. Discarded furniture and flickering streetlights cast ghostly shadows upon us. We hesitated, momentarily entranced by a quiet moment that felt like an oasis within the chaos. I could hear water splashing from a nearby fountain, a serene melody juxtaposed against the tempest brewing inside my head. What do you think this map is supposed to lead us to? I questioned, tracing the outline of the locket with my thumb. There was a thrill in asking, in blooming curiosity overshadowing the fear. Maybe a treasure, or something that will finally lead us to the answers, he replied, determination undercutting his usual stoic demeanor. The hope in his voice painted a vibrant picture, and for an instant, I allowed myself to believe that we might actually discover something worth fighting for, but before I could respond, the shrill sound of laughter erupted from the shadows, harsh and dissonant. My heart dropped as I recognized the voices' familiar echoes that belonged to my past, those who had worn disdain like a crown in my presence. The laughter twisted into a mocking symphony, intent to remind me of every moment spent feeling small and insignificant. "They're mocking us," I murmured shamefully, my throat tightening as I shielded my eyes from the ghostly figures that seemed to loom just beyond perception. I didn't want to turn, didn't want to acknowledge their existence any longer. "Then let's show them we're more than just the pain they remember," he replied, a surge of fierce resolve replacing the fear that had crept in. "We're not backing down." With a sudden weightlessness, a small flicker of light peered through the thickness of the night. A street lamp flickered to life, illuminating the courtyard with a warm glow. In that moment, I caught sight of his face, his determination igniting a flame in my own heart. It whispered of bravery and infallible strength. It was a raw, unguarded truth that tethered us to our shared purpose. The laughter grew fainter, but still echoed within my mind, taunting me as we stepped into the moonlit courtyard. In the distance, I noticed a wooden door set into a brick wall, slightly ajar, a sliver of mystery inviting us in. "Should we?" I asked, my voice a mixture of hope and trepidation. "Yes," he replied, as if sensing the fiery spark that had ignited within me. "Well, face whatever is in there together." Just before we approached the door, a sudden sensation prickled at the back of my neck, a recognition so profound that it made my heart skitter. "Wait," I called, lowering my voice as a figure emerged from the shadows behind the door. The outline was familiar, sending icy tendrils of dread through my veins. "Why are you here?" I demanded, realizing it was a face from my past, a cruel reminder of those who had laughed, now standing against the backdrop of the door we were about to cross. The look on their face was one of surprise, but beneath it lay a glimmer of something darker, a thread of unprecedented darkness connecting our past. As I met their gaze, my heart raced, pounding against the confines of my chest. This was no mere coincidence. Had they come to find me? Or were they the harbingers of more fear, more shadows lurking beneath the surface? The sense of looming danger intensified, thickening the atmosphere surrounding us. "Come to play, little girl?" they sneered, their voice dripping with malice. With a chill that wrapped around my heart like a vice, I stood paralyzed between the door and the daunting figure, my back against the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Suddenly, just as my resolve threatened to crumble, the unexpected surge of solidarity from my companion curled around my spirit like an invisible armor. "We're here to take back our story," he declared with a fierce intensity that reverberated in the stillness. "And you're not going to stop us." In that moment, uncertainty fractured against the steel of my newfound bravery, and something else flickered, an ember of courage igniting deep within. But as my heart raced, I realized something worse might be hiding behind that door, something that could shatter the fragile hope I clung to. I had to make a choice: either run towards the darkness or step back into the light, unsure of what truth awaited us. And in that brutal heartbeat of a decision, the shadows of my past clashed with the hopeful glimmer of my present, hanging precariously on the edge of fate. The figure before me stepped closer, the flickering light casting their shadow long against the walls of the courtyard. My breath shallow, I strained to grasp the reason behind the sudden anguish twisting within me. Memories washed over like waves crashing upon the shore, remnants of spiteful hands that used to push me down, words that cut deeper than flesh and bone. "Why are you even trying?" they taunted, eyes gleaming like dark coals, igniting a firestorm of doubt. "You think you can rewrite the narrative? You're a nobody, always will be." As each word landed, it pulled at the fragile threads of my new resolve, threatening to unravel the tapestry I was weaving with my companion. I felt the locket in my palm pulse with the intricate weight of my personal history so intertwined with pain that I had often doubted I would ever emerge unscathed, but I wasn't alone anymore. My gaze shifted to the companion at my side, a silent strength radiating from him like a shield I desperately needed. The warmth deeper than the locket in my grasp began to spread through my chest, igniting memories of moments I had chosen to ignore, the kindness from strangers, the laughter shared among friends who genuinely saw me, and the light within that hadn't been extinguished, only buried. "We aren't backing down," I echoed, my voice steadier now. Not this time, that declaration hung pregnant in the air, a fragile flower pushing through cracked concrete. In that surreal moment of defiance, the shadows around us seemed to shudder, the laughter that had echoed through the alley beginning to fade like a distant storm. Perhaps we could rewrite our own tales, I thought, but the writhing presence of the figure only fueled my anxiety, such bravery from the forgotten. What an amusing twist of fate. They laughed. It was a sound that felt more venomous than joyous, biting at the walls encasing my heart. My companion stepped forward, and I matched his pace, emboldened by the solidarity we shared. You don't get to decide our worth anymore. We're the authors of our own story now, he countered, defiance bristling in every word. The figure faltered slightly, and I recognized the flicker of uncertainty in their eyes. The realization, however slight, swelled like a balloon in my chest, urging me onward. This was my moment to reclaim my narrative without shame, without fear. That I took a step closer, resolved not just to confront my past but to challenge it. You see me as the dishwasher, but I've always been more than the title you chose. I am a collection of dreams, failures, and triumphs, and I will rise regardless of your scorn. The figure recoiled as if struck, the laughter falling silent like the final echo of a broken promise. I had breached a wall, a space where silence and shadows coiled in anxious circle. The power of vulnerability, of shared truth, had cut through their arrogance. But just as I began to feel the tendrils of victory unfurling, the ground beneath us trembled, a low rumble that roared like an approaching storm. Without warning, the wooden door behind the figure slammed shut with a resounding thud, sealing off the path behind us. A surge of dread shot down my spine. Did you really think you could escape that easily? Their voice twisted into something colder, more menacing. You may think you're brave, but this is where the real game begins. The shadows know much more than you. You're trapped now. Your fears will consume you. As my heart raced against the confines of my anxiety, panic whispered that I had been foolish to think bravery alone could shield us. But even in that fear, I felt the grip of my companion's hand tightening around mine, anchoring me in the present. Don't listen to them, he urged, his voice a soothing balm amidst the chaos. This is our fight together, and even while the tremors of uncertainty coursed through me, in that very split second, I sensed something shift within the shadows. The echoes of laughter began to morph, shifting from a chorus of mockery to a dissonant pulse. The pulse of something larger, a collective uncertainty surrounding us both. Let's find out what truths lie behind these barriers, I said, desperately pushing back against the encroaching dread. With a determined tug, my companion turned to face the door, now an imposing barrier filled with unknown threats. Yet, deep beneath the swell of anxiety, I felt the flicker of hope reignite within me, urging me to understand that we were not truly blind to the darkness. Together, we could face whatever lingered on the other side. On three, he said, a glimmer of fierce determination lighting his eyes. I nodded, feeling the tension of anticipation coil tightly, coiling not just with fear, but ready to unleash a previous chapter of my life. My past self had been too afraid to confront. Point 1, 2. The world fell still as our united hands grasped the noble moment, tinged with trepidation and an underlying current of awakening. But just as we were about to twist the handle, a loud crack echoed from beyond the door, followed by a whisper that sent chills crawling over my skin. Don't open it. The voice was familiar, a specter of my past wrapped in consequences I thought I'd left behind. A plea layered with desperation and a warning that fractured the air between us, and as I lingered on that voice, a chilling reminder of the shadows that pursued me, realized we were standing on the precipice of something far more complex than I had ever anticipated. The air thickened as the familiar voice echoed through the courtyard, wrapping itself around my thoughts like cold tendrils of fog. My heart raced, pulsating with the weight of recognition and fear. It was my mother, her tone a blend of worry and regret, reaching out from the past, her words dressed in a heavy fabric of memories I scarcely wanted to reclaim. Don't open it. This warning hung limply between us, as if anchored down by every mistake we ever made together. I pressed my palms against the knob but hesitated, torn between the urge to unravel the future unfolding before me and the instinct to retreat into the safety of the known. I turned slowly toward my companion, seeking some reassurance I feared I wouldn't find. His expression mirrored my turmoil. Determination wrestled with the looming shadows of doubt. What do we do? he asked, his voice low as though speaking too loudly would summon the very specters we were trying to escape. In that moment, I cast a glance over my shoulder at the towering figure, whose face now danced between amusement and impatience, feeding off our indecision. It seemed to coax the shadows forward, creeping, swirling, as though they were alive, as if they had long waited for the perfect moment to reclaim me. A small flicker of warmth washed over me as I considered the strength of my companion's grasp, his unwavering support igniting the ember of courage I thought extinguished. I closed my eyes, momentarily drowning out the taunting laughter echoing through the walls, and focused on the gentler whispers, the encouraging voices that had blossomed amid the chaos of my life. Maybe she's right, I finally breathed, rejecting the trembling at the back of my throat. Maybe I should listen, but it felt wrong. So many times I had silenced my own voice in favor of theirs, bending and twisting to fit their narratives. Was I really willing to let that happen again, to allow the progenitors of my pain to dictate my choices once more? I opened my eyes again, sweeping aside doubts until I could visualize the woman I wanted to be, a resilient warrior occupying space in a world too often filled with shadows. What if I'd rather face whatever's behind that door than allow my fears to control me? It was a challenge whispered like a prayer, each syllable tinged with newfound resolve. The shadows paused, sensing the shift. The figure in front of us narrowed their eyes, as though the directness of my words threatened their very existence. My companion gave a slight nod, a hint of encouragement sparking the air around us. Just remember, you're not facing this alone, he whispered, tight-lipped but earnest. A sudden surge of warmth encased my heart, transcending the chill that had momentarily paralyzed me. I took a deep breath, drew on the bonds of friendship I had cultivated over these hard years, and twisted the knob with newfound determination. The door creaked open, a sound thick with foreboding and promise alike. The darkness that lay beyond threatened to swallow us whole, but the boundaries of fear began to blur. We stepped inside together, taking the plunge into the unknown, our hearts intertwined with bravery. The atmosphere shifted, heaviness replaced by an electric anticipation. I squinted, adjusting to the dim light casting shadows that flickered around the small room. Dust motes danced like fragmented memories, momentarily suspended in time, waiting to reveal their secrets. As my eyes adjusted, I caught sight of a cluttered table in the middle of the room, piled high with scattered letters, photographs, and scattered trinkets. My breath hitched at the sight of a familiar object, the locket I had thought long lost, glinting under a thin beam of light. It felt impossibly significant, as if it held the answers to the questions that had haunted me for so long. A noise caught my attention, pulling me toward the shadows at the far end of the room. Soft rustling, a barely perceptible shift in the air. My heart raced as I understood, something simian was there, hidden in the inky blackness. Who's there? My voice reverberated in the hollow space. From the darkness stepped a figure, a woman draped in fabric ornate and flowing, her presence radiating an ethereal elegance, lips curved into a knowing smile. But my heart stuttered, a twist of recognition slicing through me. It can't be, the words escaped me, tethered to disbelief. My voice trembled as memories played out like a film reel, of laughter shared, tears shed, and secrets sworn. You were gone, I whispered, struggling to wrap my mind around the possibility. She stepped closer, the light revealing features that mirrored my own, an uncanny resemblance, a lineage without bounds. I've always been here, waiting for you to find the courage to face the truth. Emotion surged as I grappled with the whirlwind of feelings roiling within Meshach, confusion, hope. Could this be the breaking point? Could this be the moment where everything I had buried began to resurface, forcing me to confront both the darkness and the love that lingered in between? Do you understand now? She asked softly, reaching out toward me. You are never alone. The journey of your heart has only just begun. And with that final statement, a sudden darkness enveloped us, swallowing the light, extinguishing the brief flicker of hope, leaving us suspended in agony once more. Wait! I shouted, just as everything was consumed by the shadows. The weight of dread crashed over me, an unrelenting tide occluding my vision. The laughter began anew, a chorus of twisted joy, reminding me that I had not just awakened to the possibility of love, but to an ocean of turbulence that threatened to drown me. In that moment, I realized I had opened a door I might never be able to close. As the darkness tightened around me, my heart banged against my ribs like a wild animal trying to break free. I blinked, struggling to collect myself amid the sheer terror rising like bile in my throat. The specters of my past, those old doubts and fears, were encroaching on me once more, and I felt the edges of my sanity begin to fray. The figure, a ghostly reflection of my mother, appeared as though she had been plucked from the depths of my memories. Her eyes held a light I longed for, yet the shadows threatened to steal it away. I could hear my companion's voice, faint but steadfast, cutting through the bout of despair. "Stay with me," he encouraged, his tone laced with an urgency that pushed against the weight of the darkness. "You don't have to face this alone." I turned toward him, trying to find comfort in his presence. Yet, as I looked, he wavered like a mirage, his silhouette shifting between clarity and obscurity. Panic spiked within me as I losing him too, just when I needed him most. "Don't let go." My voice broke through the suffocating gloom, a plea born of fear and desperation. "We can face this together." In the surrounding darkness, the laughter mocked me, echoing in cruel crescendos that coaxed out insecurities I had worked so hard to suppress. I squeezed my eyes shut, envisioning the locket on the table that glinted like a beacon of hope. What secrets did it hold? A promise, perhaps, that might allow me to reclaim not just my past, but the future I desired. With trembling fingers, I reached out for the locket, grasping it tightly as though it could ground me in reality. A warmth spread over my palm, lending me strength. Just as I dared to open my eyes again, the shadows shimmered and began to dissipate, revealing fragments of memories that fluttered like moths drawn to a flame. "Look," my mother whispered, her voice hanging in the air. Each word held gravity, anchoring me in the present. "The truth is never far from you, you only need to seek it out." Suddenly, the room flickered with scattered images: me childhood home under the summer sun, my father showing me how to ride a bicycle. The instant our laughter filled the air. They illuminated the shadows for just a moment, revealing their intricate dance laws stitched tightly around the joy. Then came a new scene, sharper than the rest, a figure standing alone, desolate and shrouded in a cloak of sorrow. I stepped forward, compelled to reach them, my instincts screaming for connection. The figure turned ever so slightly. The features were all too familiar, yet tinged with a sadness that anchored in my chest. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice faint but steady. "Someone you've yet to understand," they replied, their voice a whisper of wind that carried riddles of familiarity. "You must confront your history, allow it to breathe." The shadows weaved around us, constricting and embracing all at once. I fought against their pull, determined to step forward, to grasp those threads of history that would lead me to both clarity and healing. "I have to know who you are," I said, desperation creeping into my tone. "I have to break this spell." With that, the darkness shuddered and recoiled, forming a single shimmering pathway toward the lone figure. Despite my heart racing with fear, there was a glimmer of faith, a delicate balance that urged me onward, promising the possibility of truths that would weave the fragments of my life into an understanding greater than myself. In those fractured moments, adrift between the past and the promise of rediscovery, I felt something unexpected: kindness embodied in the shadows. Through the veil of darkness, I sensed not only fear but an elusive hint of compassion. Could understanding truly reside within sorrow? Suddenly, the temperature shifted, a gentle warmth swirled through the oppressive space, nudging me closer to the lingering figure. I could see more now, the way their eyes crinkled just like mine did when I truly smiled, a soft hope glimmering within those depths that I desperately longed to explore. As I reached toward them, though, the shadows swirled violently around us, and an anguished scream tore through the air, sending me reeling back. Panic flooded my senses as I lost sight of the figure altogether. "No. Come back!" I cried, the weight of despair crashing down on me as the laughter morphed again, this time into a cacophony of sorrowful cries echoing the torment that lay deep within me. My companion's hand grasped my wrist, steadying me as I looked back into the swirling blackness. "No matter how dark it gets, we will keep searching for your truth," he insisted, his eyes fierce with determination. "Will we?" I whispered, my voice barely a breath. "If I can't face what's lost, how will I ever dismiss the fear that binds me?" Before he could respond, a sudden flash of light burst forth from the shadows, revealing the figure momentarily once more. "Find me, and you will find your worth," they urged, their voice woven with an urgency that threatened to be drowned out, yet the last note fell like a pendulum, echoing promise and peril, and then, as abruptly as it began, the illumination vanished, shoving me back into the depths of despair, leaving me clutching futilely at ghosts that whispered of hope yet cloaked themselves in sorrow. Douc. My mother echoed from what felt like another dimension, laughter mingled with a mellifluous softness. "This journey won't have easy answers. But if you truly wish to uncover the truth, the pain will guide you to the light." The air thickened, and a single tear betrayed me, cascading down my cheek as the reality of the situation tore at my core. In that moment of dawning realization, I knew that challenges lay before me, but the path to rediscovery demanded my endurance. And just as my heart began to swell with purpose, a cold hand brushed against the nape of my neck, sending chills racing down my spine. "Are you willing to fight for the truth?" A voice hissed from the darkness. "Are you ready to face what lies ahead?" I took a deep breath, adrenaline coursing through my veins. "There's no turning back now," I declared, my resolve setting like stone. But deep inside, the seeds of doubt stirred viciously. Did I truly comprehend the depths of the unknown that awaited me? And in the thick of that uncertainty, I understood one thing clearly: the facade of my past would not easily relinquish its hold on me. A revelation rolled over me as I just began to grapple with the burdens of history, leaving me breathless and bracing for what weighed heavily on the horizon. As the shadows retreated, the walls around me began to shift, pulling away like a curtain unveiling a new stage. The air buzzed with charged anticipation, a poignant mix of unease and incredulity that gripped my heart. What awaited me in this cavern of lost memories? Would I find the closure I sought, or merely more questions? My companion tightened his grip on my wrist, the warmth of his presence igniting a flicker of bravery within. "We may not know where this path leads, but remember, facing the unknown isn't a sign of weakness, it means you're forming your destiny," he urged, his eyes brimming with faith. The connection we shared fortified my resolve, wrapping around my fear like a comforting shawl. Stepping forward, we ventured into the heart of the dimly lit corridor. Distant echoes thrummed against the walls, whispered secrets, half-formed memories that slithered through the gloom. The laughter I had heard earlier now transformed, blending into a haunting melody that lingered just out of reach, like a song I had once known but couldn't recall. At the center of this surreal passage, shapes began to materialize, hovering just beyond my comprehension. One flickered close enough for me to discern its features, a perfectly formed visage, etched with a carefree laughter that felt both alien and achingly familiar. "Look!" I gasped, pointing toward the ghostly visage. "It's me," yet, the face holding my attention was softened by character lines carved deep with experience, intertwined with the shadows of sorrow and resilience. I felt an unnatural pull toward this vision, as if my very soul recognized the depth of its story. But before I could reach out, the laughter morphed again, this time deeper, more reverberant, louder, and bounced off every corner of this ethereal space. It struck at my heartstrings, dislodging the very breath in my lungs. I clutched my companion's hand tighter, as I began to hear the whispers of old friends, voices from the past that had washed away in the tide of time. "You're not enough," they chorused, drowning my spirit in their collective scorn. "No!" I cried, the sharpness of despair cutting through me. "I have to break this cycle, focus on the truth," my companion urged, squeezing my fingers gently to ground me. "Wasn't I just there with you? Remember? We're in this together." Those words lodged themselves firmly in my heart. I steadied my breathing, attempting to drown out the taunts. Centering myself, I took a step closer to the polished figure, feeling the undeniable connection intensify. "You are me," I whispered, the realization dawning like the sun breaking through heavy clouds. "I was never unworthy, I just forgot." The laughter ebbed, replaced by a profound stillness. I recognized the specter of my past, that laugh-terror veil that shrouded my worth in doubt and buried my triumphs. With that clarity, I dared to confront the vision before me, the fusion of what I had been and who I aspired to be. "Show me the strength I need." I demanded, my voice echoing through the space with newfound determination. Remind me of who I am. Slowly, the figure smiled, and in that moment, a bright light ignited within them, spilling photons that danced in the murky air, illuminating forgotten memories around us. Images fluttered forth, moments of perseverance, the milestones ID conquered, and the laughter that had once filled those now dim hallways. Each memory unveiled a layer of resilience, revealing the beacon of hope I had momentarily misplaced amidst the despair. Suddenly, the corridor began to warp and flicker, the solid ground beneath us shattering into fragments of colored pastiche that made every heartbeat echo with the intensity of possibility. But just as the light drew closer, enveloping me in warmth, the reality of the darkness crept back with a vengeance. A sinister voice so cold and calculating it almost felt tangible slithered back into my consciousness, rasping, "How dare you believe you can reclaim what is lost? You are forever a shadow of your former self." My heart sank as the shadow of despair wrapped around me yet again, threatening to drown out the flickering light. "No!" I shouted defiantly. "You will not claim me, not again," and as if in response, the world began to crumble, the chalk-white walls fracturing like glass, revealing something new hidden beneath. I caught a glimpse of a memory that felt more like a dream, floating just beyond my reach. A timeless moment, and at its center, I saw the figure of my mother, vibrant and full of life. But next to her was someone else, someone I had almost forgotten. "Who is that?" I blurted, my pulse racing as the image steadied, revealing a face buried in the recesses of my mind. A connection sparked with clarity that robbed me of breath, but I couldn't place it. "You must find out, if you wish to move forward," my companion urged, his voice now tethered to a burning urgency. As reality shattered around us, the last remnants of warmth began to flicker out like dying embers. My heart raced, caught in an unyielding storm of emotions as I glanced at the now fading apparition. "Wait! Don't leave!" I screamed, but the light began to slip away, pulling the figure and the chance for understanding back into the shadows that threatened to engulf me. In that moment, I realized the pursuit of truth demanded courage far greater than I had anticipated. I turned to my companion, clutching his hand as the ground trembled ominously beneath us. "We need to go back, to face whoever that was. I can't let this defeat me." But with those words, another chilling realization struck me like ice. To face the truth might mean facing my own powerlessness, acknowledging a past that dictated my present. That we steadied ourselves against the ever-thickening darkness swirling around us, the cacophony of laughter echoing like a taunt. An invisible wall began to close in, and the light dimmed further, leaving us suspended in a precarious dance between despair and discovery. With one last breath, I closed my eyes, letting go of fear and blindly stepping into the unknown, willing to embrace whatever revelation awaited me. As the darkness intensified, my ears rang with one final, spine-chilling refrain: "Are you prepared to uncover the truth, even if it leads to your own undoing?" And with that, a shattering realization dawned. This wasn't merely about uncovering the past, it was about unearthing the power that lay dormant within me, and learning to wield it before the storm consumed us both. The darkness pulsed around me, as if alive, saturating the very air I breathed with uncertainty. I could feel my heart thrumming unsteadily against my ribcage, the relentless rhythm pounding an anxious beat of both fear and anticipation. We were teetering on the edge of something monumental, the revelation of the past grasping at the hem of my present. "Stay with me," my companion urged, his voice barely cutting through the rising chaos surrounding us. I nodded, knowing that this battle was as much his as it was mine. That I expended every ounce of strength imagining that flickering warmth that had just begun to envelop me. It felt as though I had touched a fleeting glimpse of joy, yet it now slipped through my fingers like grains of sand. I forced my eyes open against the thick veil of shadows that sought to smother me. The laughter echoed through the tunnel, morphing into a collective sound of sneers and derision, taunts that dug deep into the scars etched on my heart. "Do you see how far you have fallen?" they cackled, the chorus of voices piercing through the gloom like shards of glass. I had spent too long feeding off their negativity, and now, standing on the precipice of truth, I finally felt the weariness of their doubt. The energy those whispers demanded was exhausting, yet I understood it now. They had drawn my strength and wore me down when all I required was to hold my head high and declare my own worth. Before me, the memory of my mother sparkled, vibrant in its colors, bringing warmth into the impenetrable darkness that surrounded us, like a beacon fighting through a thick fog. There, just beyond her, the figure loomed again, the one I couldn't yet recognize but felt deeply drawn to. The connection surged, urging me to cross the chasm that held answers just out of reach. "Just a little closer," I whispered, my heart racing with the intoxicating mix of hope and fear. "Can you sense it?" My companion's question cut through the clamor of mocking laughter, grounding me once more. "This is where you discover your strength. Don't look away." With a deep breath, I pushed through the crush of wrecked memories. "Who are you?" I called out, addressing the shimmering figure beside my mother. "Please show yourself." Vulnerability wrapped around me, enveloping me in a sense of raw honesty I hadn't dared to unveil in years. The image began to solidify, showing a gentle smile, one etched in kindness and affection. A flicker of recognition danced within me, but before I could grasp it fully, the laughter morphed again with malice, sharp and unrelenting. "Don't you understand?" they mocked. "You are meant to remain lost in the shadows, just as you always have been. No one will save you, no." I clenched my fists, fear spiraling within me, but a new sensation firmness blossomed as I reclaimed my breath. I refused to be a mere shadow of what's expected. I turned my gaze back to the figure, kneading desperation and determination into a plea. "Please, help me remember." Slowly, the darkness seemed to relent, as if my words had tapped into a wellspring of power. The figure flickered, wavering between the realms of the past and present, but I held resolutely onto the warmth in my heart. "I am more than what has been forced upon me. I have fought through every storm. I deserve to know." The laughter faded momentarily, replaced by an almost imperceptible change in the air. It pulsed softly, weaving a sense of belonging amid the prevalence of chaos. The figure reached out, an ethereal hand stretching toward me, its fingertips brushing the edges of my consciousness, igniting dormant fragments. I felt lifetimes sweep through me, joy, loss, and strength intertwining in a dance, but just as clarity threatened to settle, darkness surged back, boisterous and insidious, wielding apparitions from my past. They manifested around me, dancing in an elaborate waltz forged from memories I had tried to bury. I gasped as their twisted forms gathered, old fears, mistakes I had tried to forget, moments of failure all taunting me anew, injecting weight into my chest that threatened to pull me under. "You are nobody," they sneered, and for a fleeting second, an agonizing tremor coursed through the core of my being. Yet in that moment, amidst the cacophony of doubt, I caught a glimpse of a flickering ember, ignited by an unexpected kindness from my companion. His grip on my wrist, encircled with firm reassurance, was an anchor sinking into the stormy waters. "Remember," he whispered fiercely, "you are not alone in this. We will face them together." That small light reassured me that I held a choice, one that was deeper than pain, more profound than despair. I clenched my jaw and shouted, "I have worth. I am determined to rise above this." With the words exploding from my lips, a wave of bright energy surged forth, expanding outward, illuminating the darkness. In that stunning moment, my heart expanded with possibility, the realization that I could wield this power against the haunting figures flooding my mind. I could confront each moment, not as a victim, but as a warrior seeking redemption. Suddenly, the laughter transformed, shifting gears as realization began to dawn within the shadowy crowd. "You think you can break free?" they hissed, but I stood tall, feeling the life force burgeoning inside me. As I took a step forward, ready to bask in strength forged by grief and triumph, a shocking revelation sliced through the air. The voice of my mother from beyond glimmered, soft yet commanding, her words wrapping around me like an echo from the depths of my soul. "You are not just fighting for yourself, but for us all." A fissure cracked through the shadows, one that threatened to unleash truths long buried. And just as I hesitated, ready to bridge the invisible gap, it hit me: this was about more than my own redemption. It spoke of a collective power, weaving through the lives of everyone whose spirits danced among the shadows, including the mysterious figure beside my mother. The shadows recoiled, and the laughter spread thin before swelling once more, raising the stakes higher. My heart raced in anticipation, yet an unfamiliar weight enveloped me, the realization that understanding this connection could fracture so much more than simply my fears that I gripped my companion's hand, a tether against the swirling chaos, as the shadows writhed in retaliation. This was the moment I had sought the truth I had almost forgotten, but as I stepped closer, darkness coalesced around me, threatening to swallow the light whole. I felt the pull of the abyss. Could I unearth this truth before the laughter claimed me once more? The shadows loomed closer, presenting a new, chilling melody wrought with discovery and risk, the tantalizing promise that this battle had only just begun. The darkness clung to me like an unwelcome shroud, pulsing with every thud of my racing heart. Fear was a familiar touch now, yet beneath it, a spark of defiance flickered, urging me forward. With my companion's solid grip anchoring me, we stood together on the brink of revelation, balancing hope against the weight of looming despair. I had come to realize that the shadows were not merely tormentors. They were a reflection of all I had chosen, the echoes of choices made, fears nurtured, and the painful remnants of a past whose chains I longed to shatter. Yet, through the caustic whispers and bitter laughter, the figure beside my mother radiated warmth and promise, her face an open book of compassion and care. "Remember what you fight for," my companion whispered, his eyes glinting with determination. "You have people waiting for you to rise. You are never truly alone." As I took a breath to find my voice again, the shadows closed in like a tempest. Familiar faces twisted in mockery flashed before me, friends lost and family ghosts, all wrapped in a thread of self-doubt. Each specter bore witness to the life I had resisted, the dishwasher who only ever felt invisible, the quiet girl who thought her worth was tied to her work. I shouted, my voice breaking through the clamor, resonating with an unfamiliar force. "You don't get to define me. I am worth more than the space I occupy." For a moment, the shadows faltered, and the laughter dimmed into uncomfortable silence. It was fleeting, but it wrapped around me like a delicate veil, providing a brief refuge. Yet the flicker of hope quickly smothered under the weight of deeper fears that threatened to rise anew. What if courage betrayed me at the final hour? What if these whispers had a kernel of truth, a truth I was too afraid to face? "Listen closely," the voice of my mother floated through the veils of darkness, resonant and soothing. "Strength is not in defying the shadows, but in understanding them." "What do you mean?" I faltered, battling with the surge of lost memories flooding my mind, a kaleidoscope of joy and regret swirling together. The figure beside her beamed softly, urging me to decipher the intertwined paths of our lives. I saw what had been lost, dreams deferred, laughter muted, simple joys replaced with relentless striving to avoid confrontation with my past. Suddenly, the darkness undulated around me, drawing forth a memory so potent, it struck at the core of my being. I was back in the bustling kitchen of a modest diner, hands submerged in warm, soapy water. The sounds of laughter amidst the clattering of plates felt more like a distant whisper than actual comfort. In that moment, I had been a vessel carrying the weight of expectations larger than myself, trying desperately to conceal how invisible I felt. "Is this all there is?" a young version of me asked, the question resonating with innocence and longing as I stared at my reflection disfigured in the murky water. Was this moment of solitude my only identity? In that memory, resentment bubbled like an overflowing cauldron. I remembered the moments of joy intertwined with the ache of insignificance and loneliness, a silent hope flickering beneath the surface, clamoring to be heard. But back then, laughter felt like a cruel joke, a reminder of a world I couldn't quite access, reserved for those who dared to reach beyond confinement. "Eyes wide open, my darling," my mother's voice echoed, gentle yet piercing. "Each shadow holds a lesson, every laugh a calling to rise, but you must understand the echoes of your journey before dispelling their power." With a jolt, I reawakened from the memory, the shadows looming even larger now, their laughter resuming with spiteful ferocity. "You will always be forgotten," they shrieked, their jagged tones enraging the ghosts of my past. "No, I am still here," I cried, digging deeper within myself, summoning every ounce of strength I had denied. And with that, a warmth surged forth, illuminating the darkness. Not only for myself but for those who've been subjected to the weight of laughter that stings like nails against glass. I'll carry their stories with me, will not remain silent. A ripple of surprise coursed through the shadowy figures as the laughter stuttered. My words were powerful, igniting a small flame of rebellion against the oppressive grip of despair. With every utterance, I countered their mockery with memories of shared struggles, moments engraved in the collective hearts of those who, like me, battled through obscurity, but just as the shadows began to destabilize, as if my truth was shaking their very foundation, the laughter crescendoed into a deafening roar, revealing something horrifying. A figure emerged from the darkness, a dark silhouette that bore a shocking resemblance to me. "You can never escape," it hissed, bearing familiar features etched with malice. This was my own reflection, distorted and marred by years of suppression, my greatest fear unveiled before my eyes. Tremors of dread coursed through me as I gasped, "You can't be real." But the figure stepped closer, the heartbeat of the shadows syncing with its own. "Your past is part of you, embrace it, or it will consume you." In that haunting moment, I felt the chasm of uncertainty open wide beneath me. What if this echo of my former self was the true me, waiting to claim dominion over my thoughts? What if I was forever bound to failure and forgotten dreams? I stood teetering on the edge of belief and despair, staring into the eyes of my fears. Would I be brave enough to confront this terrifying reality, or would I be pulled into the infinite abyss of shadows longing to claim me? The lines of my existence twisted, the overwhelming dread of impending choice closing in, leaving me suspended between empowerment and defeat, the journey onward just beginning, and yet so perilous. The weight of uncertainty swirled around me like an oppressive fog, and for a moment, I felt the world tilt on its axis. The figure, the dark reflection of myself, loomed larger than life, a physical manifestation of every doubt, every fear I had harbored deep within. Its eyes, hollow and full of malice, pierced through my defenses, and I felt the faint tendrils of despair creeping back in. The moment felt surreal, as if time were suspending itself in a cruel game between light and shadow, but as the laughter echoed in my mind, a cacophony of mockery, something within me ignited. Every whispered taunt, each snicker that had eaten away at my spirit, suddenly crystallized into resolute strength. I wasn't merely facing a reflection of my fears, I was confronted with the power I had been afraid to acknowledge. The darkness may have felt insurmountable, but I understood now that those shadows could not claim my truth unless I allowed them to. "No," I said, voice steadying as adrenaline washed over me like a fresh tide. "You might be part of me, but you do not define me. I am here, and I have fought too hard to let you win." The words flowed from the depths of my being, carrying a weight that silenced the mocking laughter, if only for a moment that I felt my companion's presence beside me, emboldening me. "Your story is not over," he murmured, words woven with unwavering conviction. I turned my gaze to him, grounding myself in his solidarity. Together, we stood against the storm. "We are not alone," I echoed, my voice rising in fervor, heart pounding with newfound strength. "We carry not just the burdens of our past but the hopes of those who suffered too. We have the power to rewrite our stories." The figure wavered, momentarily disoriented by the conviction in my voice. I pressed forward, fueled by the surge of courage that burned bright within me. "I have endured loneliness, rejection, and sorrow, yet I stand here today, stronger than ever before. I will not shy away from the pain, I will embrace it and let it transform me." As I spoke, the dark reflection clenched its jaw, the laughter morphing into a strained, desperate snarl. "You cannot escape what you are," it hissed, desperation lining its tone, but I could sense the cracks forming. "Then let's face it together," I shouted, the words echoing off the surrounding walls, a direct challenge to the dark figure before me. "The laughter, the shadows, they don't own me. They cannot dictate the value of my life or the depth of my journey." With each word I uttered, the shadows thinned, the figure before me trembling, flickering like a flame about to be snuffed out. I felt the warmth seep into the crevices, illuminating the corners of my heart that had long been cloaked in darkness. Each heartbeat resonated louder now, synchronizing with the pulse of hope that refused to be extinguished. Suddenly, from the depths behind the figure, a soft light broke through, illuminating the contours of forgotten dreams and buried passions. It stirred a resonance within me, the remnants of a life only waiting to be honored. "There's light in each of us," I said, voice rising, "and it's time to awaken it." With that proclamation, I reached deep, feeling the connection with my companion strengthening, a bond forged in the fires of adversity. We joined hands tightly, like two roots intertwining in the face of a storm. I drew on the essence of every moment I had cherished, the laughter shared with friends, the quiet moments of reflection, and even the sorrow that had sculpted my heart. Let's take it back. My shout tore across the space, igniting a wave of energy that surged toward the shadow figure, pushing it back to where it belonged. The shadows shrieked, the mocking laughter morphing into cries of panic as their power slipped through my fingers, dissipating into wisps of smoke that I felt the ground shifting, the darkness retreating, and in that moment, clarity sliced through the haze. That dark reflection, the pain, the fear, the whispers of unworthiness gold no longer shackle me. I was no longer that frightened girl, the dishwasher grasping at belongings of unseen worth. I stood tall, grounded in my identity, no longer ashamed. I was a tapestry of light woven through experiences both heavy and joyous, a truth that deserved to shine. As the laughter faded, the figure before me twisted and shrank, surrendering as the light engulfed it entirely. You may think you've won, it hissed, bitterness drowning its words. But the shadows will come again, perhaps, I replied, unwavering, but now I understand, every shadow holds a lesson. And I will meet them all not alone, but with the courage I have found in each of these moments. With that, the atmosphere shifted wholly, shadows retreating and lifting like fog kissed by dawn. I squeezed my companion's hand, feeling the energy of that connection pulse between us like a shared heartbeat, resonating with promise and hope. We did it together, I breathed, a smile breaking through as colors began to swirl around us, the bright hues of new beginnings, untainted by the past. That we can face anything, he affirmed, returning the brightness in my eyes with his own. It was a turning point, a threshold crossed, and with it came a sense of awakening. As the remnants of darkness dissolved, I turned toward a small opening where a single beam of light shone through. Treading toward it, I inhaled, feeling the warmth against my skin, a cruel chill finally lifted from my soul. Walking side by side, I felt a profound sense of purpose blooming within me. With each step toward the light, I left behind not just the shadows of my past but embraced the person I was becoming, and as I stepped into the brightness, the air filled with laughter, not one of mockery, but one that resonated with joy and comfort, the sweet cadence of memories reclaimed. I knew now that life was not defined by isolation but enriched by the bonds and stories we shared. I turned to look back one last time, and among the fading shadows, I whispered, "Thank you for your lessons, for my journey. But I am more than just the dishwasher, I am a warrior reclaiming my narrative." As the warmth enveloped me, I let go of what was holding me down, ready to rise, a heart stitched from laughter, shaped by love. In that moment, I fully understood I had not just triumphed over darkness, I had forged a new reality, interwoven with the thread of resilience. And with every breath, I walked forward, finally free to be the author of my own story. Even amidst the echoes of the past, I would soar, unwavering, unyielding. The last flicker of laughter died in the distance, replaced by the unwavering pulse of my newfound life as I whispered into the light, "I am here, and I am enough."